Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Leadership Download, where technology meets learning. I'm your host, Renee Samuels, and on today's episode, we're diving into three emerging technologies that are transforming how we teach, learn, and lead. We'll discuss AI in education, AR and VR, and virtual learning environments. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. Let's start with the big one, artificial intelligence, or what we call AI. AI has moved from something of the imagination to reality and classroom. That's something that we all can agree on. As an educator, I've watched platforms like Progress Learning and iExcel use AI to adapt lessons in real time. These programs track how students respond to questions, and it will automatically adjust the difficulty level. It's like having their own personal tutor, right? According to Holmes, who is a researcher at the AI Institute, this kind of differentiation instruction, it helps every learner grow from where they are. It doesn't matter if that learner is low, it will bring them up a level. It doesn't matter if that learner is on grade level, it will help them to maintain that level and even grow more in their academics. All right? Educators can also use these tools to support students who need extra help while still challenging those who were ready to move ahead. That is why AI has been a big part for our educators in the classroom. But AI doesn't just help our students or our teachers in the classrooms, right? It also helps our leaders too. So according to Selwyn, who is a publisher at the Bloomsbury Publishing Company, school administrators can use AI dashboards to spot trends, identify achievement gaps, and make data-informed decisions. For example, this year, I had the pleasure of serving on the school improvement plan team, and I remember us using AI as a team to help us break down and analyze our students' data set. And we also use it to help us come up with goals for the next school year based on the data that it did analyze. However, we love AI in education, but we have to still lead with caution because AI raises ethical questions about bias, privacy, and data ownership. As educational leaders, we must ensure that algorithms serve students, not systems, and that every innovation supports equity and not inequality. Right? Now, let's move on to augmentation and the virtual reality world, right? Augmented and virtual reality is oftentimes called AR and VR. That's what we mostly know it as. These technologies are making learning more immersive and interactive than ever before, right? Imagine students exploring science, right? They're in a science class. I've never taught science before. But imagine a student who's exploring the inside of a cell in biology or a science class, right? Or they're walking through the solar system in 3 dimensions. Isn't that cool? Even though I haven't used AR or VR directly in my own classroom yet, I've seen how schools are integrating them to deepen understanding and spark curiosity. And we know that nowadays our students are always on the video games and they immerse themselves into those visuals a lot, right? So I feel like AR and VR, it brings that aspect, right? It brings that virtual reality into the real world for these students, and they're more likely to learn from that than just learning from a boring presentation on a Promethean board. So what I love the most about AR and VR is the possibility, right? As educators, we're no longer limited by the textbooks or the walls. Students can experience lessons instead of just reading about them, right? For example, one year I was teaching about Anne Frank, right, in my language arts class. And even though my students did not have a VR headset, I was still able to show them a virtual tour of the attic online, right? That they were able to move around and play with on their own. And my students loved it because now they were able to picture what they were reading about. For leaders, AR and VR doesn't mean it. For leaders, AR and VR means thinking beyond traditional classroom designs, right? Like I mentioned before. So according to the John Hopkins press conference, we have to plan for infrastructure, teacher training, and equitable access. It's not enough to just have the technology, but as leaders, we have to create the vision and support systems that make it meaningful. Our third technology is one that's personally close to my heart, right? This is the virtual learning environment, or VLES. A few years ago, I actually taught English online to students in China from home here in the US. I'll never forget logging in at 6 a.m., coffee in hand, and seeing a grid of bright, smiling faces halfway around the world. We sang songs, practiced pronunciation, and built relationships, all through a virtual classroom. That experience opened my eyes to the power of virtual learning, right? They don't just make education flexible, they make it borderless. Students in rural communities can access expert teachers, and collaboration can happen across time zones. This, I think, in my opinion, virtual learning has become so popular after COVID-19 because that's the world that we had to enter into, right? Well, some of us was forced into it, but now it is becoming one of the big part of the education system. For educational leaders, this shift changes everything. We're not just managing physical schools anymore, but we are trying to manage learning ecosystems. Leaders must create policies that support digital citizenship, maintain safe online spaces, and ensure technology doesn't widen the equity gap. And maybe most importantly, leaders must preserve the connection because even in the virtual world, students still need to feel seen, heard, and valued. That's what makes education human. And that's something no technology can replace, right? Now, across all these innovations, AI, AR, VR, and VLE, one truth remains constant. Technology doesn't change education, but leaders do. We have the responsibility to ensure these tools are used ethically, equitably, and with empathy. That means setting privacy standards, offering teacher support, and asking the tough questions. Who does it benefit? Who's left out? And how can we bridge those gaps? If we get this right, technology becomes more than a trend. It becomes a bridge to opportunity for every learners. Because leadership in this digital age isn't about managing the machines. It's about empowering the people through them. Thanks for joining me today on the Leadership Download, where technology meets teaching. Remember, when we use technology with care, we lead students towards brighter futures. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep leading with tech.